Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. We know you're fascinated by the world of design thinking, and you're especially interested in figuring out how to take those great ideas, those aha moments, and turn them into something that actually makes a difference.
Absolutely. It's that crucial leap from concept to impact that we're going to unpack today.
Right. And you sent us some really interesting stuff to dig into, like this Design Thinking for Engineering Students Guide.
Yeah. But don't let that title fool you. The insights we're going to be talking about apply to anyone tackling complex problems, whether you're designing a bridge, a business, or even a better way to, I don't know, fold laundry.
No, that's an idea I could get behind. More efficient laundry folding.
Right. But in all seriousness, we're going to be exploring how companies like Google, Amazon, and Tesla turn those eureka moments into real-world solutions that scale, adapt, and really make a difference.
So no matter what field you're in, if you've ever felt like you have a great idea but aren't sure how to make it happen, this deep dive is for you. And to help us break it all down, I've got our expert here who always brings that so what perspective. What's got you excited about this particular deep dive?
It's funny, we often hear about those light bulb moments, the big breakthroughs, but what fascinates me is what comes after that.
The okay, now what phase.
Exactly. That often overlooked gap between a cool concept and something that actually works in the messy, complex, real world. That's what we're exploring today, the nitty-gritty of implementation.
Love that. And I think that's something a lot of us struggle with, right? We have these amazing ideas, but then we get stuck on how to actually make them happen.
It's so common. And that's why we're going to be digging into practical frameworks and tools that companies like Amazon use to go from a small startup to, well, the giant they are today.
Okay, so let's start right there. I'll admit, the whole concept of scalability can feel a bit intimidating. It sounds like something only mega corporations need to worry about. Like, how do I even wrap my head around that?
I totally get that. It's easy to think of scalability as this massive, complex thing reserved for, like, Silicon Valley giants. But at its core, it's about building solutions that can handle growth without falling apart.
So it's about building something that can evolve and adapt as it grows
Right.
without, like, imploding under its own weight.
Exactly. Imagine this. You've created an awesome app that helps local farmers connect with customers. It's a hit in your town.
Love it. Supporting the local farmers, that's great.
Right. But what if word spreads and suddenly you've got farmers and customers from all over the country wanting to use it? Can your app handle all that new traffic, the data storage, the need for different languages, time zones, currencies?
Okay, yeah, I can see how things could get complicated pretty quickly.
That's where scalability comes in. It's about being ready to handle that kind of growth.
So it's not just about size. It's about being ready to adapt to change and grow in a sustainable way.
Okay, now I'm starting to see why this matters even for smaller projects with big ambitions.
Exactly. And a perfect example here is, well, Amazon. They didn't start out as the everything store they are today.
Right, they started with just books, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. They were just an online bookstore, but they were built on this foundation that allowed them to scale at an incredible rate.
You're talking about their use of cloud computing, right?
Yeah.
I know that's a big part of how they manage those like insane volumes of orders and data.
Exactly. Cloud computing is a game changer for scalability.
But can you break down exactly how cloud infrastructure makes that possible? I mean, it's not just magic, right?
Right, no magic wands involved, though it can feel that way sometimes.
It does.
One of the key ways Amazon uses the cloud is through services like AWS Lambda. This basically lets them run their code without having to manage servers. So they only pay for the computing power they actually use.
So it's like having a utility you can turn on and off as needed, instead of like owning a whole power plant yourself.
That's a great analogy. It's like having an on-demand supercomputer that scales up or down based on demand. So if they suddenly have, I don't know, 1 million people trying to order the same hot new gadget during a flash sale,
Which, knowing Amazon, happens all the time.
right, their system can handle it without crashing.
So it's like having an elastic infrastructure that expands and contracts as needed. That's incredibly smart.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the hardware, right? There's also the whole software side of things, the algorithms and design choices that have to contribute to scalability as well.
You got it. Think about Amazon's recommendation engine that you might also like feature.
Oh, I love that feature. It's so good at predicting what I might want to buy next. Sometimes a little too good, honestly.
It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Right.
But behind that is this complex algorithm that's processing massive amounts of data to personalize each customer's experience.
Yeah, if they weren't using efficient algorithms, that kind of personalization would be like impossible at their scale.
Absolutely. It'd be like trying to find a specific grain of sand on a beach, a very, very large beach.
Okay, yeah, that's a good visual.
Yeah.
So they've built this system that's both powerful and incredibly precise, able to handle massive amounts of information while still feeling tailored to each individual user.
That's impressive. I'm starting to get a handle on the tech side of scalability, but I'm also realizing there's this whole human element that's just as important.
Oh, absolutely. You can't just throw technology at a problem and expect it to solve everything.
Right, like even if you have the most amazing scalable technology in the world, if your system is like clunky and confusing to actually use,
It's going to fail, no
yeah,
matter how good the tech is. And Amazon understands that. They've invested heavily in user-centric design.
that makes sense. So what does that look like in practice? Well, think about their one-click ordering or their search function, which is like ridiculously intuitive. These features make the shopping experience seamless even with millions and millions of products available.
It's true. They've somehow managed to make navigating this massive online marketplace feel like almost effortless. It's kind of remarkable.
It is, and it's all about prioritizing the user experience,
Yeah.
even when you're dealing with incredible complexity behind the scenes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about building systems that can scale and adapt, but what about the people actually building those systems? There's this myth of the lone genius toiling away in isolation to create something brilliant. But in reality, innovation often comes from, well, from a bunch of people working together, bringing different perspectives and expertise to the table.
You hit the nail on the head. Think about Tesla's autopilot, for example. You've
Mm.
got developing the neural networks, mechanical engineers designing the sensors and hardware, UX designers creating the interface for drivers. It's a whole orchestra of different skills.
Right, and you can't just have one brilliant engineer in a basement building all of that in isolation. It takes a team, and not just any team, a team with diverse skills and perspectives working together.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you actually make that kind of cross-disciplinary collaboration work? I can imagine it can be a bit chaotic trying to get everyone on the same page, especially when you're dealing with these really complex technical concepts.
It can be. That's where having the right frameworks and communication strategies is crucial. One approach that's become really popular is the agile methodology. It's all about breaking down projects into smaller, manageable chunks called sprints.
I've heard that term agile thrown around a lot, but I'll admit I'm still a bit fuzzy on what it actually means in practice.
Sure, it's kind of a buzzword these days. In simple terms, it means having regular check-in meetings to keep everyone in sync and embracing constant feedback and iteration throughout the development process. So it's not like you plan everything out perfectly at the beginning and then just execute it flawlessly. It's more about like adapting and adjusting as you go based on what you learn along the way.
So it's a more flexible and responsive approach to project management, which makes sense, especially when you're dealing with something as complex and constantly evolving as like autonomous driving.
Exactly. And it also helps to ensure that everyone on the team feels heard and that their expertise is valued because, you might have a brilliant engineer who comes up with this amazing algorithm, but if it's not user-friendly, it's not going to be successful. So you need the UX designers to weigh in, the product managers, and everyone else involved.
So it's about creating this environment where different disciplines can feed off of each other and really collaborate to create something that's like greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. And that's where the magic really happens.
I love that. Okay, so we've got our Kanban boards for task management and our version control systems for collaboration.
Mhm.
But what about communication? How do we ensure that everyone is on the same page, especially when you're working remotely or across different time zones?
Ah, communication, the eternal challenge. But luckily, there are tons of tools designed to help us with that these days. One platform that's become incredibly popular is Slack. It's basically like a virtual office where you can create different channels for different projects or topics, share files, have quick video calls, and keep all your communication in one central location.
I've heard of Slack, but I haven't actually used it myself.
Yeah.
It sounds like it could be a real game changer for teams, especially those working remotely. It's like having a virtual water cooler where you can connect and collaborate with your colleagues.
Exactly. And it helps to reduce those endless email chains and, those reply all disasters that we've all experienced.
Oh, I've definitely been there. So let's bring all this together with a real-world example. Imagine we're a small team developing a mobile app that helps people learn new languages. How would each of these tools, Agile, Kanban, version control, Slack, play a role in our project?
Okay, great example. Let's say we're using Agile methodology to manage our project. We could have a Kanban board in Trello. Trello is a really popular digital Kanban board to visually track the progress of different features, like one column for developing the lesson modules, another for designing the user interface, another for implementing the speech recognition engine.
Okay, I'm visualizing it now. That's super helpful for staying organized and seeing where things are at a glance.
Exactly. Then we could use GitHub to collaborate on the code for the app, making sure everyone has the latest version and that we don't accidentally overwrite each other's work. And we could use Slack for all of our communication, sharing updates, asking questions, celebrating milestones as a team.
So it's like having this integrated toolkit that helps you manage all the different aspects of the project, from planning and execution to communication and collaboration.
Exactly. And the beauty is that these tools are all designed to work together seamlessly, creating a really streamlined and efficient workflow.
It's amazing to see how these tools can work together to create a seamless and efficient workflow, even if you're a small team working remotely. It's like having an entire support system for your project. But let's not forget the bigger picture here, right? We're not just building things for the sake of building them. We're trying to create solutions that actually make a difference in the world.
You're absolutely right. It's not enough to just create something that's functional or even innovative. We need to be asking ourselves, does this actually solve a real problem? Does it have a positive impact on people's lives?
And that brings us to the crucial question of impact evaluation, right? How do we know if our solutions are actually making a difference? What are the metrics we should be tracking to measure our success?
That's where things get really interesting. It's not just about, counting downloads or website visits. We need to be looking at deeper metrics that reflect real-world impact. For example, in the case of our language learning app, we might want to track metrics like user engagement.
So how often are people actually using the app?
Yeah.
And for how long? Are they actually learning new words and phrases, that kind of thing?
Exactly. It's not just about creating a shiny app that people download and then forget about. It's about creating something that people actually use and benefit from.
Right. It's about creating something that has real staying power and actually helps people achieve their goals. So are there other metrics we should be thinking about beyond just user engagement?
Absolutely. We might also want to consider broader impact metrics. For instance, is our app helping to bridge cultural divides by making it easier for people to communicate with others from different backgrounds? Is it empowering people to pursue new opportunities by giving them the language skills they need?
Those are some powerful questions. It's not just about building something cool, it's about building something that contributes to a better world. And that's what makes this whole conversation about design thinking so exciting. It's not just about, creating sleek gadgets or fancy apps. It's about using creativity and innovation to make a real difference.
Absolutely. And the best part is that there are so many ways to make a positive impact, no matter what your skills or interests are. The key is to identify a problem that you're passionate about and then use your creativity and ingenuity to come up with innovative solutions.
And remember, it's not about being perfect or having all the answers right away. It's about being willing to experiment, learn, and iterate as you go.
Well said. Embrace the messiness of the process, be open to feedback, and don't be afraid to fail. Because often, those failures are the stepping stones to our greatest breakthroughs.
I love that. It's so inspiring to think about all the possibilities out there just waiting to be explored. And I'm excited to see what you, our listener, will create as you embark on your own design thinking journey.
Me too. It's all about taking that first step and then, just going for it.
Okay, so before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at the specific problems you're interested in tackling. You shared some materials related to education, healthcare, and the environment. These are all incredibly important and complex areas, ripe with opportunities for innovation.
They really are, and they're all interconnected in so many ways.
Exactly. So let's start with education. You mentioned being particularly interested in how we can improve online learning experiences for remote students. This is a challenge that's become even more pressing in recent years, and it's an area where design thinking can really shine.
It's a fascinating challenge. Traditional online learning can often feel, passive and isolating. How can we leverage technology to create more engaging, interactive, and personalized learning experiences that truly cater to the needs of remote students?
That's the million-dollar question, and one we're going to dive into much deeper in the next part of our deep dive. But for now, let's shift gears and talk about healthcare. You shared some materials about the potential of artificial intelligence to revolutionize the way we diagnose and treat diseases. This is an area where the possibilities seem almost limitless.
It is mind-blowing to think about the ways AI could transform healthcare. Imagine algorithms that can analyze medical images with greater accuracy than human doctors, or personalize treatment plans based on an individual's genetic makeup and lifestyle.
It sounds like something out of science fiction, but it's becoming more and more real every day. And the potential benefits for patients are enormous.
Absolutely. From early detection of diseases to more effective treatments, and even the possibility of curing currently incurable conditions, AI has the potential to truly revolutionize healthcare as we know it.
And finally, let's talk about the environment. You mentioned being particularly concerned about the impact of climate change and the urgent need for sustainable solutions. This is an area where design thinking can play a critical role in creating a better future for all of us.
Climate change is arguably the biggest challenge facing humanity today. We need innovative solutions across the board, from renewable energy technologies to sustainable transportation systems to ways to reduce our carbon footprint in every aspect of our lives.
It's a daunting challenge, but one that we can't afford to ignore. And I'm optimistic that by applying design thinking principles, we can come up with creative and effective solutions to mitigate the effects of climate change and create a more sustainable world.
I agree. It's not just about doom and gloom. It's about finding solutions and taking action.
Exactly. So we've got our three big problem areas: education, healthcare, and the environment. And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore these in more depth, looking at specific examples of how design thinking is being used to create innovative solutions. But before we move on, I want to take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
It has. We've talked about the importance of scalability, the power of collaboration, the need for efficient project management, and the crucial role of impact evaluation. These are all essential ingredients in the recipe for successful innovation.
They really are. It's not just about having a great idea. It's about having all the pieces in place to bring that idea to life in a way that's sustainable and impactful.
Absolutely. And the most important thing to remember is that you don't have to be a tech genius or a design expert to make a difference. Everyone has the power to be an innovator. It's all about being curious, asking questions, and being willing to experiment and learn.
Well said. And I'm excited to see what kind of amazing solutions you come up with as you apply these principles to the problems that matter most to you.
Stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive, when we'll take a closer look at some real-world examples of design thinking in action.
You know, it's inspiring to think about all the ways design thinking can be applied to these big challenges. It's not just about building cool gadgets or apps. It's about using creativity and innovation to improve people's lives and make the world a better place.
It's about having a real impact, right? But sometimes that gap between an idea and actual impact can feel pretty huge. We've talked about the importance of measuring that impact, but how do we actually make sure our solutions are getting out there, reaching the people who need them most?
That's a crucial question. It's not enough to just build a great product or service. You need to make sure it actually gets into the hands of users. And that often means thinking about things like distribution marketing accessibility.
So it's not just about the tech. It's about understanding your target audience, figuring out how to reach them effectively. Okay, let's dive back into those specific problem areas we talked about: education, healthcare, and the environment, and explore some real-world examples of how design thinking is leading to real impact.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
You mentioned earlier that you're particularly interested in how we can make online learning more engaging and effective for remote students. What are some of the ways design thinking is being used to tackle this challenge?
One really interesting example is Duolingo, the language learning app.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
They've done a fantastic job of applying design thinking principles to create this truly engaging and gamified learning experience. They use bite-sized lessons, interactive exercises, and this whole reward system that keeps users motivated and coming back for more.
I've actually used Duolingo myself, and I love how it feels like a game rather than a chore. It's amazing how they've managed to make learning a new language like fun and addictive.
Exactly. And it's not just about making it fun, it's also about making it effective. Duolingo has invested heavily in research to understand how people learn best, and they're constantly iterating and improving their app based on user feedback.
So it's about combining solid educational principles with smart design choices and this constant focus on the user experience. That's a great example of how design thinking can transform an entire industry. What about healthcare? You mentioned the potential of AI to revolutionize the way we diagnose and treat diseases. Are there any specific projects that are using AI in a really impactful way?
Oh, there are so many exciting developments happening in this space. One project that really stands out is Google's DeepMind, which has developed this AI system that can detect diabetic retinopathy.
Diabetic retinopathy.
Yeah, it's a leading cause of blindness. But the thing is, it can be treated if it's caught early enough. And this AI system can detect it with greater accuracy than human ophthalmologists.
Wow, that's incredible. So this technology is already being used in real-world settings.
It is, and it has the potential to save millions of people from vision loss.
That's the kind of impact that gets me really excited about the possibilities of AI.
It's truly groundbreaking. And what's even more remarkable is that this AI system can be used in areas with limited access to healthcare professionals.
So it's providing early detection and treatment to people who might otherwise go undiagnosed. That's incredible. It's not just about advancing technology for its own sake. It's about using that technology to address real-world problems, making healthcare more accessible and equitable. That's what makes this so impactful.
Exactly. It's about using technology to empower people and improve lives, not just to create cool gadgets.
Okay, let's move on to the environment, which is an area you mentioned being particularly passionate about. I know there are tons of startups and organizations using design thinking to tackle climate change and sustainability challenges. What are some examples that are really making a difference?
One company that's doing some really innovative work is Climeworks, a Swiss company that's developed technology to capture carbon dioxide directly from the air.
I've heard about carbon capture technology, but I'll admit I'm a bit skeptical. It sounds almost too good to be true, like a magical solution to our climate woes. How does it actually work? And what makes Climeworks' approach stand out?
It's not magic, but it is pretty ingenious. Climeworks builds these large-scale plants with these giant fans that basically suck in air.
Okay, I'm picturing like giant vacuum cleaners for the atmosphere.
Exactly. And inside the plant, the CO2 is filtered out and bound to a special material. Once the filter is saturated, the CO2 is released, and it can be either permanently stored underground or used in industrial applications, like making synthetic fuels or fertilizers.
So it's like they're creating these giant air purifiers for the planet. That's amazing.
Mm.
But is it scalable? I mean, can we really build enough of these plants to make a significant dent in global CO2 emissions?
That's the big question, right? And the answer is, it's complicated. The technology is still relatively new and expensive, but Climeworks is working hard to bring down costs and scale up their operations. They recently opened the world's largest direct air capture and storage plant in Iceland.
Wow, in Iceland.
Yeah, and they have ambitious plans to remove millions of tons of CO2 from the atmosphere annually in the coming years.
It's definitely a long game, but it's inspiring to see companies like Climeworks pushing the boundaries of what's possible, developing solutions that could have a real impact on our planet's future.
It is, and it shows how design thinking can be applied to these massive, seemingly intractable problems.
You know, hearing about all these amazing projects from Duolingo to DeepMind to Climeworks makes me wonder, what are some of the common threads that run through these successful design thinking initiatives? What are the key ingredients that allow these innovations to thrive and make a real impact?
That's a great question. One thing I've noticed is that these projects all start with this deep understanding of the problem they're trying to solve. They don't just jump into building solutions. They take the time to research the problem, talk to users, really understand the nuances of the challenge.
So it's about empathy, right? Putting yourself in the shoes of the users, really understanding their needs and pain points.
Exactly. And once they have a solid grasp of the problem, these teams embrace a culture of experimentation and iteration. They don't try to come up with the perfect solution right away. They build prototypes, test their assumptions, constantly iterate based on feedback.
It's that fail fast, fail often mentality, right?
Yeah.
Embracing the idea that failures are actually opportunities to learn and improve.
Exactly. And another key ingredient is collaboration. These successful teams bring together people from diverse backgrounds and disciplines. They foster a culture where everyone feels empowered to contribute their unique perspectives and ideas.
It's about breaking down those silos, creating a truly collaborative environment where everyone is working together towards a shared goal.
Precisely. And finally, these teams are laser focused on impact. They're not just building things for the sake of building them. They're constantly asking themselves, how will this make a difference? How will this improve people's lives?
It's about having that clear vision of the change you want to create in the world and then relentlessly pursuing that vision, even when things get tough.
Well said. And it's inspiring to think about all the ways we can use design thinking to tackle the big challenges facing our world. Whether it's improving education, transforming healthcare, or combating climate change, the possibilities are truly endless.
We've talked a lot about specific examples of design thinking in action, but I think it's important to step back and acknowledge that design thinking is not just a set of tools or techniques. It's a mindset, a way of approaching problems, finding creative solutions.
You're absolutely right. It's about cultivating that sense of curiosity, embracing ambiguity, being comfortable with not having all the answers right away.
It's about being willing to experiment, to learn from your mistakes,
Yeah.
constantly iterate and improve.
Exactly. And the great thing about design thinking is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't have to be a designer or an engineer to apply these principles. Anyone can be a design thinker.
I love that. It's empowering to think that we all have the potential to be creative problem solvers, regardless of our backgrounds or job titles.
Absolutely. And that's what makes design thinking so exciting. It's this truly democratic approach to innovation. It's about harnessing the collective creativity and ingenuity of everyone to create a better future for all of us.
Speaking of a better future, one of the areas where design thinking is becoming increasingly important is in the realm of artificial intelligence. As AI systems become more powerful and pervasive, it's crucial that we design them in a way that is ethical, responsible, aligned with human values.
You're touching on a really important point. AI has the potential to solve some of the world's most pressing problems, but it also comes with certain risks. We need to ensure that these systems are designed in a way that benefits humanity, not harms it.
So it's not just about building AI that's smart, it's about building AI that's good. And that requires a thoughtful and intentional approach to design.
Exactly. We need to be asking ourselves these tough questions. How can we ensure that AI systems are fair and unbiased? How can we prevent them from being used for malicious purposes? How can we ensure that they respect human privacy and autonomy?
These are complex ethical considerations that can't be ignored. And it's encouraging to see that more and more people are starting to have these conversations and to advocate for responsible AI development.
Absolutely. And design thinking can play a crucial role in this process. By bringing together ethicists, social scientists, policymakers, and technologists, we can create a framework for developing AI systems that are aligned with human values and contribute to a more just and equitable society.
So it's about thinking beyond the technical aspects of AI, considering the broader social and ethical implications. It's about designing AI that serves humanity, not the other way around.
Well said. And that's a powerful message that we need to keep in mind as we navigate this increasingly complex world of AI.
All of this talk about design thinking and its potential to solve big problems has got me feeling really inspired. But I also know that sometimes it can be hard to know where to start, especially when you're facing a really complex challenge. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out on their design thinking journey?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing is to cultivate that mindset of curiosity and openness. Be willing to ask questions, to challenge assumptions, to explore different perspectives.
So it's about being a lifelong learner, always eager to explore new ideas and ways of doing things.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment and to make mistakes. The beauty of design thinking is that it's an iterative process. You can always go back, refine your ideas, try again.
It's about embracing the journey, not just the destination, and finding joy in the process of creative problem solving.
You've captured it perfectly, and I have a feeling that with your enthusiasm and your willingness to learn, you're going to accomplish some amazing things.
Well, thank you for the vote of confidence. I'm definitely feeling energized and ready to tackle some big challenges, and I'm excited to see what our listeners will create as they embark on their own design thinking journeys.
Me too. It's going to be amazing to see what they come up with.
But before we wrap up, there's one more key aspect of design thinking that we need to explore: prototyping. It's all well and good to have great ideas, but how do we actually bring those ideas to life in a tangible way? That's where prototyping comes in.
Prototyping is such a crucial part of the design thinking process. It's all about creating tangible representations of your ideas. Whether it's like a rough sketch on a napkin or a fully functional prototype, it's about getting your ideas out of your head into the real world where you can test them, get feedback, and iterate.
So it's about turning those abstract ideas into something concrete, something you can actually interact with and learn from. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They have these great ideas, but they don't know how to take that next step and actually start building something.
It can be intimidating, but the great thing about prototyping is that it doesn't have to be expensive or time-consuming. You can start with simple, low-fidelity prototypes, like, paper mock-ups or role-playing scenarios to test your basic concepts, get early feedback.
So even if you don't have access to like fancy software or equipment, you can still start prototyping your ideas right away. That's encouraging.
Absolutely. And as you refine your ideas and get more feedback, you can gradually move towards higher fidelity prototypes that are closer to the final product.
Okay, let's dive into some